Hi, Kevin Wright, back with another property finance video, and this week we're going to be talking about a below market value loft conversion in the UK. Sound interesting? Stick around. Now, I'm always getting people ask me questions, particularly around property finance, because that's my expertise, with over 20 years spent as a property finance broker, brokering everything from a single AST buy-to-let mortgage right up to multi-million pound development loans and everything in between. Now, a question I got recently was to do with buying a property below market value, adding a loft conversion and then refinancing to pull your cash out. And the person asking the question had gone to their usual mortgage broker and said, we want to do this, buy it, put the loft conversion in, it's going to take 2 or 3 months, and then I want to refinance and pull out as much cash as I can. Nothing unusual there. It's the recycle your cash formula that I've been teaching for the last 10 years. But here's the interesting bit. That mortgage broker said to him, well, you can't be doing that because mortgage lenders don't do a remortgage unless you've owned the property for 6 months. Now, that's not entirely true. It's not entirely false either, because there are some mortgage lenders that don't do that. They don't lend on a mortgage until you've owned a property for 6 months. But it's not all mortgage lenders. Now, I've got to say there's nothing new in this. We've been brokering mortgages within 6 months of purchasing the property for at least the last 10 years and beyond that. So what's going on here? Well, amazingly, there are a number of mortgage brokers out there that have a very limited knowledge of what actually goes on in property. Now, the lenders that they deal with may well not lend until you've owned a property for 6 months. But brokers with a wider understanding of the mortgage market, and maybe ones that are more experienced, i.e. ones that have been doing it for 10 years or more, but no, there's always been mortgage lenders that will do a remortgage within 6 months of purchase. Now, you might have to pay a bit higher rate, but we've had clients going back several years that would rather pay that bit higher rate to pull their money out quicker than just kick their heels for a few months waiting to get the very cheapest rates on the market. Now, of course, we don't mind which you choose. You want to get your money out quick, pay a bit extra, we're cool with that. You want to kick your heels for a while and get a better rate, we're cool with that too. Now, you might be thinking, where did this 6-month thing come from? Well, I'm going to have to take you back a few years into a previous decade, still in the 21st century, and back to the credit crunch of 2008 and 2009. Now, I was brokering mortgages in the early 2000s, and I've got to tell you, it was like the Wild West. Hey, have you subscribed yet? If not, click the button there. Oh, and that dingy belly thing there, so you don't miss a new video every time I release one. Thank you. And follow me on Instagram too. There's the button down there. Thank you. Now, pretty much anything went. Now, we used to have a saying back then. We used to say, if you've got a pulse, you can get a mortgage. And it wasn't actually too far from the truth. So all sorts of people that in hindsight should never have been given mortgages were given mortgages. And lenders took some big hits from their irresponsible lending. Now, post-credit crunch, the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, got very involved in this irresponsible lending. And they brought in a whole new load of directives and guidelines. Out went self-certified mortgages where you could declare your own income. I know, crazy, isn't it? And out went highly adverse credit lending. In other words, to people that got a shockingly bad credit history. And in came much more responsible lending. Somewhere deep in the Council of Mortgage Lenders Handbook, there was this thing about 6-month deferred ownership, which was there to stop back-to-back transactions that lenders saw as inherently risky. Now, pre-credit crunch, lenders were lending on anything that moved pretty much, and they weren't only bothered about this 6-month restriction. But in the tighter lending climate post-credit crunch, some lenders, and it's the ones with the cheapest rates, become very bothered about these back-to-back transactions. So in came this 6-month ownership restriction, referred to as a rule, although it's not a rule, it's just an ownership restriction. Now, people have said to me, but if I buy cash, can I then refinance within 6 months? Well, buying cash doesn't make any difference because it's a length of ownership restriction, not a method of purchase restriction. So however you fund the purchase, the lenders that want to make you wait 6 months will make you wait 6 months. Now let's drill down a bit to the lenders that will lend within 6 months. And they divide into three categories. The first category lender says, yes, we'll lend within 6 months if you're buying a property, and we'll lend against the purchase price you pay. Now, if you're looking to recycle cash, that's no use at all, obviously, so we don't really use it those. Secondly, there are some lenders that say, yes, we will lend within 6 months of purchase, and we'll lend on the purchase price you paid, plus you show us what you've spent on the improvements. Could be the refurb, could be a conversion, whatever it might be. Now, getting your cash out requires you to borrow on an exponential added value basis. So purchase price plus refurb cost doesn't work either. It's the third category that you need, and that is lenders that lend on the open market value, the new open market value that your tangible improvement to the property has created. Now, the rates you're going to have to pay increase as you go through each of those. So the ones that lend on the open market value will be the highest rates. Now, as brokers, we'll find you the most competitive rate depending on what you ask us to do. So I'm going to wrap up this video with two things. If there's any mortgage broker that tells you that you cannot get a mortgage within 6 months of purchase, you're talking to the wrong broker. And secondly, if you're going to use cash, that's fine, but if you're going to use bridging finance, make sure you don't pick a bridging term that's too short for the refurb and then the remortgage period afterwards. In other words, going for a 6-month bridging term, you could find yourself running a bit short, and it's never a good idea to overrun your bridging loan because you could hit penalty payments. So as bridging brokers, we would always suggest you go long and redeem early without penalty. So most of the bridging loans that we organise and broker are 9 to 12 months in duration. A few longer than that, but not that many shorter, because we like to give you plenty of wiggle room so you can pay off, if not early, then on time. Now that's it for this week's video. I'll be back next week with another property finance video. See you then. If you enjoyed watching this video, did you know every Monday morning at 8:30 I do a live Facebook Q&A. So if you want to start the week with checking out some answers to your property finance questions, click the link here.